This week's episode of Here's What I Don't Get is brought to you in part by busting your ass beyond ass busting realms. And if you need help with that, there's a surgery that can add extra ass to your ass. All you need is Canadian healthcare. Hola and como esta, biblioteca. And those are all the Spanish words that I know to Here's What I Don't Get. From north to south, east to west, the only intercontinental podcast to tackle all of life's toughest issues and the longest consecutive running podcast on the See You Next Tuesday podcast network and the longest running podcast on YouTube on the See You Next Tuesday podcast network. That's right, a fuck you dick. I am your host, Tab Burt, and with me today from Paraguay, our good friend. He will let you sleep on his couch while you're trying to expatriate to his great nation. It's El Chaco.
Hola, mi hinchada!
Welcome back, my friend.
Feels like
I'll say
forever,
welcome
man.
back. Yeah, I say welcome back, but like you and Buck did an episode without me, so like you should be welcoming me back, and because I
Yeah,
slept
man,
through that thing.
We were supposed to be the three of us, and then you know, I guess the Holy Spirit intervened and made it so it was just me and Buck. So we got a little bit of a Buck and Chaco flashback episode there, and it turned out all right. And despite technical difficulties like crazy, as you unfortunately had to edit your way through, and I can't promise you that crap ain't gonna happen tonight. Just as you saw in Signal beforehand, my internet has been crapping out all the time for the last week, and it's driving me nuts. So I'm not quite sure what to do.
Are you so crazy you're going to move back to Canada because they have better internet?
only if I've decided I wanted to commit suicide on the taxpayer dollar. That's the only way I would go back to Canada.
That's a fair point. Yeah, I slept through that episode, but it is out now. You guys can check it out on the Patreon. It turned out really well. I enjoyed listening to it while I was editing it. So I think other people.
It was a do-get episode, and we always like those do-get episodes.
I love do-gets, man. I like having a good positive outlook on life because everything else in life is so like miserable and awful, and just so it's good to be like, you know what? There's some shit that's going on. It was funny that episode started, and you were having all these technical issues, and you were talking about like you and Buck were saying this episode is cursed, and I was like, name of the episode. This episode's cursed, but. At the end, like it so turned around that I named the episode Spring because I felt like that was much more. It made more like Bucks do get and what was happening in that episode itself. Like that was the spring. So
it was pretty awesome, actually. And
yeah,
it's funny because like you know, I always feel like for don't gets, I have to get into the right mode, and like it's funny because like I get paid by my main client every 3 months.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, trying to budget that properly from like my Canadian account to covering my Canadian expenses to helping out people in Canada to I have multiple accounts here in Paraguay, one in US dollars, one in Paraguayan guaranis. I've got credit card up in Canada. I've got a credit card down here. Trying to budget it is like really difficult. But like, you know, I try to figure it out to the best of my ability. And sometimes I screw it up really bad. And sometimes it gets real close to like, you know, like, are we going to have to eat a little bit more of the oranges and tilapia to kind of get by until I get paid? So I got paid this morning and it's the best feeling. Like it's the best feeling. And I was like, this might hurt my ability to don't get on tonight's recording. I'm going to be too happy. I'm going to be like in too good of a headspace. I mean, I might not, I'll have to fake being angry at stuff. But then my internet cut out a bunch of times today. And, you know, the same client, I love him. He's great. Don't get me wrong. He he hits me up at 4 p.m. They got a WhatsApp group, and it's one of those things where every so often, all of a sudden, they're like, "Oh, what's that group? I don't remember that group. Oh, I just got added to that group," and lo and behold, hey, Joel, meet so and so. You guys are gonna have a call like in like 15 minutes, and then this time he was like, it was 4 p.m. and he's like, I want you to have a call with this guy. He's gonna send you the investor presentation. And I need a whole landing page, and I need it as soon as possible. Actually, I need it tonight. And I was like, what?
Oh, yeah.
These things take me 2 business days, bro. He's like, oh, just make it shorter. No, here's the thing. Shorter doesn't mean like less time for me to prepare, because if I'm going to make it shorter, I have to decide what to cut out of all the other information. So thank you, ChatGPT.
Here's what I do get.
I went to you, right? And I was like, dude, can you reschedule? And then like, you're like, nope, this is the only day all week.
My week, I have the week from hell this week. So Sunday we had a show. We loaded out that show. While that show was loading out, the ATD and I were basically disassembling our front of house console position. Like it is empty right now. There's the lighting console is sitting there, and that is because the lighting console is extremely heavy, and everything else is gone. And then yesterday we started at 8 a.m. We pulled all the curtains, we pulled all the lights, we pulled every fucking scrap of cable, we pulled everything out of this theater. I've never in my career as a technician seen a theater this empty. There is nothing. There is absolutely, and today was another call. Like we worked until 4. At 3:30, I got a text that was like, "Oh, hey, by the way, for my birthday, we're like getting together a drink, and it's a friend. It's like a friend that's a friend of mine. It's a friend of a couple of my coworkers, and it's like, well, we got to go do that. Like we can't. And I knew this birthday was coming up. I didn't realize it was today, and so I was spending time with this friend a couple weeks ago, and they said." I was showing pictures of some of the glass blowing I've been doing, and they said, I love cobalt blue glass. I love it so much. And I had 2 pieces of cobalt blue glass. I had this one that I drink out of on the show that I made, and I can't part with this. I love this fucking glass. And I had another glass, a vase. And so on the way home, I stopped and got flowers. I like changed clothes. I grabbed that vase that I currently had flowers in because I found a bundle of flowers just like abandoned outside my theater a couple days ago. And I was like, what? Why are these flowers here? And then I thought, I have all these vases at home. I should put something in them. So I was like, fuck it, I'll take them home. So I brought the flowers,
hobo flowers.
And I went over there, and then Joel texted me. He's like, "Can you reschedule?" And I was like, "I could go later tonight, but I really can't. Like when I committed, so I'm doing 40 hours at my 9-to-5 job, and for whatever reason, I committed to 50 hours at another theater in town, and a shift at the glass shop, and I was just like, I'm an idiot."
We're both making the same mistakes, right? We're both making the same mistakes because we're taking on more than we can chew, but. Somehow we're pulling it off, right? Like, because I have. Oh, go ahead.
I know. That's like been the beauty of moving to St. Louis is that I've been really working at the low end of my hours for so long that a week like this, where I'm gonna push myself. I'm gonna push myself really hard, but I'm gonna make a shitload of money. And
that's where it is, right?
The thing is, like, so here in a couple weeks, I'm gonna go visit my sister up in the Pacific Northwest, and it's like. Well, either right before I leave or right when I get back, I'll have all these checks for all these jobs I've been doing, and either way, like we can spend time. We can go do whatever. We can go like eat like kings. We can go to visit anything we want to do, and it won't matter. And so it's like, I'm gonna put 110 hours in this week, but like. I'll be able to spend a really good weekend with my sister, and so I don't care. Like this week is nothing.
See, you've got the right idea there, right? Because the thing is there's so many people out there that will. How do I put this? So my wife, our version of time travel. Mm-hmm. I may have explained this on the show. I may not have, but like when you're in like the shit, right? Like when you're in like that intense, crazy, stressful, shitty time period, what we'll do is we will time travel by sending a high five forward into the future. And later, once we're all like kind of done everything, you know, like that whole thing of like you're getting everything ready, you're trying to get on vacation, you finally get there. And then when you're in the pool in that relaxation mode, you recognize, you say to each other, hey, wait, remember when we were like in the shit and like it sucked and we really wanted to, send that high five forward. Now it's time to send that high five back to like our past self that had to put up with all that shit. And now here we are getting a chance to like, you know, reap the rewards. And it sounds like you're doing the right thing too, because there's a lot of people that would like, you know, go into debt rather than work the extra hours ahead of time. It seems like you've got the right idea.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm really, it's been too long since I've been able to spend time with that sister. So
that's awesome. That's awesome.
But, you know, enough about like our sentimental nonsense. Nobody's here to hear us talk about how much we love our families. Everybody's here to hear about what we do not get. So, El Chaco, what is your issue this week?
Here's what I don't get. Cities. You know, like I remember when I used to watch like a lot of those, like, you know, you know me, I like Westerns, right? I like Westerns. And I know you don't like them, and that's cool. And but like there's this like always like this you know, like there's this kind of trope of like those city folk, you know, like city folk. Well, I'm coming up on 1 year of not living in the city, and I love it so much. And every time I have to go to the city, it pisses me off. It drags me into this like bad mood. I hate going into the city, and it doesn't matter which city it is. You can't name a good city. All cities suck. There's not a good city on the planet. All of them had like crazy lockdowns. All of them have like crazy diversity and multiculturalism and like, you know, offending everybody and all. What do you got?
The greatest city on earth, Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Praying hands. Praying hands.
The land of praying hands.
I got to get there someday. No, this is the hard part, man. Like, so I grew up in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And like the whole country of Canada would shit on Calgary. Like they would, not only this, like we're always seen as like the rednecks and like the you know, the ultra conservatives. And we, you know, like, oh, we're the, national media, CBC loves shit on Alberta. And they used to always especially shit on Calgary. So much so that in 2013, there was a catastrophic flood in Calgary. And I was down here in Paraguay at the time. And I remember looking online and don't do this. Like never do this, but looking in the comment section of all the articles that were about all the destruction that was happening in my city, like my junior high school got flooded out, like the property where I like had my formative years when I was like, you know, up until the age of 4 got flooded out. Like it was chaos in Calgary. And what is like the rest of the country and the rest of the media was like, you know, serves you guys right. Karma's a bitch. You know, you guys are an oil and gas city and karma's a bitch and it's climate change that caused all this. And it's like, man, like, and at a time it was a cool place to be. I loved growing up in Calgary. But the thing is that now it sucks. Like now Calgary really sucks. And it didn't take long. They just kind of amped up the seasoning and they I don't know why. It's just like everything sucks in Calgary and every city sucks. There's not a good, I honestly, like, I'm probably going to catch flack again for this one, but like, dude, like explain to me the like benefit of cities. like you living next to each other, you're basically on top of each other. Everybody hates each other. Everybody doesn't want to like look at each other. They just want to like park in your garage and like, you know, like go home and like get away from it all. You just gotta shut the door and fuck the rest of the world because you're living in a city and cities suck, right? And it's like everybody complains about their city. There's always traffic. You know, and like there's traffic, there's pollution, there's noise, there's the cost of living is ridiculous. I don't understand. Like I think back to like my ancestors, you know, and it's like I know like across both sides, my mom's side and my dad's side, both sides had rural roots, right? Like my mom's side, they were Scottish, Irish, little bit of Aboriginal, First Nations, teeny tiny bit. Like more than what's her face, Elizabeth Warren.
Elizabeth Warren, yeah,
yeah. But the thing is like it was like their side was like they were farm people, and then they moved to a small city, small town, which turned into a city. And then my parents they got jobs. Like at the time, like the jobs were in the cities. Well, here's the beauty of now, is that you can work remotely.
Work anywhere.
You can, and so like. It's funny to me because this isn't even like I don't even hate cities. They annoy me, but I understand like why I need to go to them sometimes. Like for example, to get like car parts that aren't sold out here, or like to maybe go to a better hospital to get like a proper like a special procedure or something. Mm-hmm. But like, man, like I got a friend of mine, and he completely does not understand why I live out here. I seriously just don't get it. I was like, what? You don't like the complete lack of light pollution? You don't like the pure air? You don't like the fact that like you don't have like constant traffic around you at all times? Like
you don't like the sound of no gunshots happening anywhere near where
well,
you
if there's
live?
gunshots happening, they're going to be mine. That's I can practice them. Where I'm at, nobody gives a fuck. Like it's great. I love it. I shoot in the corner of my property. I actually bought. We brought out my my Boito, my 12 gauge Boito last weekend, and I had a blast firing that thing. Scared the shit out of some neighbors, but it's like
see, I can fire my gun too, and I live in the middle of the city, but the difference is because like the city I live in doesn't give a fuck about crime.
I guess. I mean,
here's the thing. All right, so I ran a red light. I blasted through a fucking red light on my way home to do this show tonight, right in front of a fucking cop. Right in front of a fucking cop. Nothing.
That's your white privilege. That's your white privilege.
You know what? He probably because the thing was I wasn't wearing my jacket, so he probably saw my arms and I was like, "That's a white guy. Let him go." Yeah. You're right. No.
Yeah, his wife's probably pregnant or something. He's gonna go.
That's definitely not a city's issue. It's definitely a white privilege. Yeah, like especially so you're talking about being in rural Paraguay, right? And but I live in the United States.
Even in Canada, I wanted to be in rural Canada.
Yeah,
like even in Canada.
Well, your challenges of like I need car parts from. I have to have like I have to go to the city for those kinds of things, right? I can order all that shit on Amazon. And
so
and you don't have that benefit in Paraguay, and so in the United States it makes even more sense to be rural because you can just like I can fucking order anything I want online. It'll get here. Yeah, it'll take a couple extra days. Maybe I need a PO box to make sure it doesn't get like fucking left in a ditch. But,
well, I do that actually. Actually, I do that. I order my stuff through Amazon. It goes to like a box in Florida, in Miami. And then it takes about a week or two, and then it comes down to a place in Asuncion, which was right behind where I used to live. And I got a buddy who lives just down the block from where I used to live. So I hit the when I get a notification that my package is in, I send them a money transfer, and then I tell my buddy to go and pick it up for me. And then when we go to church on Sunday, which is in the city. It gives me a chance to go and pick it up from him because they're closed on Sundays because they're an awesome business and all businesses should be bring back blue laws. Anyways, that's another issue for another day.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But like, it's really I don't know, man. Like every time, so every Sunday, well, not every Sunday because we have rotating priests that come and go, but when we have a chance to go to Asuncion for a mass, it's like I come from like beautiful like pastures and like rolling hills and like there's houses out here, but it's not as jam packed together. And And then I get closer to the city, and the drivers get slightly stupider and a little bit more brazen. And then I get into the more packed part of the city, and it's just like I grind to a halt. Everything was smooth. I was driving nice and fine. I get into the city, and now I'm tense. I'm like looking around. I'm like always who's gonna pop out of here and there, and it's like, the whole time when I was living in Calgary at the end, I really just wanted to move out of the city. And we actually, almost a year before we moved to Paraguay, we were really close to putting our house up for sale. It was so close. But there was, as you know, during COVID, there was a bunch of divorces that were happening. This is like the one thing that people don't talk about a lot, but like there was a massive wave of divorce that happened in 2020 and 2021.
Yeah.
So
people are finally forced to like
hang out with each other,
cohabitate. Like
yeah.
we live in this world where you have to work. I talked about it a couple episodes ago. Well, I think it was women in the workforce, and I was talking about it with you, where now we need 2 incomes to make the same living that we had, like our grandparents had, with 1 income, and like, so now we need those 2 incomes, and suddenly it's like, oh, you can work from home, and now you're actually spending time with your spouse and realizing we don't actually get along, and rather than work on it, it's just like, oh, let's get a divorce, because everyone has a divorce, because like one in 2 marriages ends in divorce because we don't fucking believe in anything anymore. We just believe in the satisfaction of the now.
Nihilism is a big problem.
Yeah.
But
it's a big
going
problem.
back to that, it's like, yeah, big voted up. But the thing is that when these divorces were happening, a bunch of these people were like, I can't live with you anymore. So they had to sell their house as quickly as possible. And when they did that, they were like, oh, they're selling their house and we're selling our house. And well, our house is already paid for, because there was a lot of boomers that were selling at the time. A lot of boomers got divorced during COVID. And so they bombed out the price of the market on us. And so like we were so close to selling. We were so close. And then as soon as it was like time, I ended up calling an audible and saying, we're not going to sell today. We're not going to sell right now. We're going to wait. And so we renewed our mortgage and just did it for another year. And then I ended up selling and paying a big penalty a year later. But the house was all ready to sell. But the thing is that, going back to like what I don't like about cities is like, the other thing I don't like about them is like when the cities bitch about the like satellite towns around them. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, you use our infrastructure. You're using our roads and you're using our transit and all this kind of stuff, but you're not paying property tax to the city to help us pay for these costs. Like, yes, I am. Just maybe not directly. I am. Okay. Like the reason why these cities existed in the first place is so that you can have businesses together. We're supporting those things. Like, just stop, dude. Like cities are where like the riots happen. Cities are where like all types of different stuff is going on. It's just garbage, man. It's just garbage. I don't like living in a city. I think I'm done with them. And it's so funny because it's such a big change. Because when I was younger, man, to go to a big city was like the dream, man. Because like concerts happened in cities and like major sports teams are there and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so anyhow, like that's. Go ahead.
I live in a city, so I live in like the 27th largest metropolitan area in the United States, or it's somewhere in the 20s. I don't remember the exact number.
I felt like it would be bigger than that, but I guess not.
You would think that, but I thought that too, but it wasn't. It was bigger than Tulsa, and what I loved about Tulsa is, Tulsa is the world's largest small town. That was the way I always felt Tulsa was a small town. It was just too big. We had
What's the population of Tulsa?
The greater metropolitan area is 1 million people.
Okay.
But consider this. You have to drive an hour from the south part of that metropolitan area to the north part of that metropolitan area.
So you're basically Calgary.
And that's not an hour in traffic. That's an hour of fucking straight driving.
Distance. Yeah. No, Calgary's like one of the biggest urban sprawl places in all of North America. and it covers the same. So we pretty much grew up in similar
similar
size. Yeah.
St. Louis is an hour from the southern part of the metropolitan area to the northern part of the metropolitan area. If you're like speeding in no traffic, it's a lot more if you're really trying. Talking about why divorce. Yeah. I don't have any defense of cities. Like I'm 100% with you. The only reason why I live in a city, the only reason why I'm in a sense trapped in a city is because I went into a line of work that requires people in order to make it work. And so I talked about this, I think, when I did it, but during the scamdemic, I applied to a job in North Dakota, and it was a small town or South Dakota. It was a small town in South Dakota, but they had like a community theater space where they showed movies, and they did like several shows a year, and it was like a community gathering space. And when I was reading the job description, it sounded amazing. It sounded like the kind of community that I wanted to be around, and unfortunately, they were also shut down. Like I picked South Dakota because I was like, oh, all the news articles are saying South Dakota's open. I can go there and not wear a mask, and like they just hate they want to kill all the old people, and that was not the case.
Well, that's the thing, though. It's like even in like quote unquote red state type areas, you look in them, and all their cities are blue. Like all the cities are blue, and like in Calgary. Right? Like before the mask mandates were put in province wide, Calgary was like in there right away. Like, yeah, we're going to make it mandatory for you to go into a business with a mask on. I was like, but why? There's no science behind it. What are you talking about? And then sure enough, they like put it in, and it was like, it's a bylaw and you're going to get fined for it. And it's like, fine, take me to court over not paying it. Like, I mean, come on. And then like
Tulsa was the first place that was like, the city of Tulsa, we're shutting down. We're closing these places. Like this is the mandate that's out. And the suburbs, they took like 2 days to decide to do it. But then, it's that like, you lead the bull by the nose. You put that little thing in there and you drag the nose around and you can lead the whole bull. So by fucking pulling the city of Tulsa around, all the suburbs are kind of forced to do it, because then everyone lives in the suburbs is like, all those Tulsans are coming to Broken Arrow and they're drinking in our bars because our bars are still open. It's like, yeah, why don't you mind your own fucking business?
That's not a problem. Yeah. Well, the other thing is like, again, like cities have their own little like fiefdoms, like these like in Calgary right now. I don't know. I never know how much of Canadian news gets to you guys, because like it shows up on like some of the social media platforms. I'll be like, oh, Calgary's showing up in this Telegram group or something. But
I'm not the guy to talk to about that, because
that's a good thing.
About the news.
That's a good thing. Yeah, it's a good thing. But like, if, for example, in Calgary, like drag queen story hour is still a thing, and the city of Calgary, who has a radical left mayor, who got in on this, with less than 50% of the vote, of course.
Hope and change.
She put in a law that makes it so you can't protest a drag queen story hour at any public building. You have to be 100 meters away from the doors.
A football
which
field.
Means it's like on the other side of the parking lot, right? Like, which is like useless. And it's like, like it's more of this bubble zone crap. And it's like, your freedom of speech is like gone. Like, I don't fuck cities, fuck them all. Like, again, like you go out to these rural areas and they're like, yeah, just come on in. It's fine. Like very rare did you go out to a rural town and somebody was up your ass about not wearing a mask. Very, very infrequently where I
was. So I think I've talked about it. I've talked about it personally with fans. I don't know if I've talked about it on the show, but in like 2017, I started a journey that I have not yet finished. But I've always had this like draw to drive Route 66 in the United States, and it runs through Tulsa. I like grew up with Route 66, like, oh, there's this massive thing. And so in 2017, I finally started that journey in Yukon, Oklahoma, which is a suburb of Oklahoma City. And we drove from Yukon to Santa Monica, and like we were in Amarillo, and we were in rural Texas, and we were in rural New Mexico, and all those things. And like we were in the big cities. We were in Flagstaff, Arizona, and had a terrible time. We were in downtown Amarillo and had a terrible time. The places I remember are places like Tucumcari, New Mexico, places like Seligman, Arizona, places like rural California, where those people met you 90 seconds ago. Here's my favorite. I'll finish it by saying, here's my favorite story of Route 66. We were driving. We had left Holbrook, Arizona, and we had been driving in rain all day. All fucking day it was raining. We rented a beautiful convertible to like enjoy the mother road. It was raining all day. We like went through these cities. We were having like really not having a good time. We stopped in Seligman, Arizona. We went to the Roadrunner Cafe, and the woman there at the counter said, how are you folks doing today? And we said, well, you know what? Actually, to be honest with you, today's been real shitty. Like, we've been stuck in the rain. Every time we stop, the rain catches up with us. Like, it's just really not been the day we thought we were going to have when we set out on this vacation. And she said, I'm really sorry to hear that. Like she could do anything about it. Like, and then, we shopped around the store. We bought like a postcard. We bought a thing of that. And then she said, I hope the day brightens up for you, and I hope the rain stops for you.
Aww.
And I shit you not, 25 minutes outside of Seligman, Arizona, the skies parted. The most beautiful sunset I've ever seen. The temperature dropped. We took the top down. We drove the next 35 minutes into Kingman, Arizona, in the most beautiful skies, the beautiful weather I've ever seen. We stopped at the Elf Troubadour in Kingman, Arizona, which has all this beautiful neon. We stayed in the Clint Eastwood room, and we sent that woman a postcard to say,
awesome.
like, you reset our day.
That's
our day
awesome.
was, and like, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen in Amarillo. It's not going to happen in LA. It's not going to happen in Tulsa or Oklahoma City or any of those big cities along Route 66. It's only going to happen in those small towns with like real human beings.
Exactly. Even, and it's universal, because like New Year's Eve, 2022, right? We were out here at the property. This was before our house was built, when we had like kind of a little cabiny type place. And I was like, okay, we got to get back to Asuncion. We got mass tomorrow. Got to get back. Catholics, it's obligatory to go to mass on New Year's Day, which is tough for everybody else. It's a hard sell for non-Catholics, but yeah. We got to go. So we drove back that evening, and there's this stretch that goes, it's a beautiful drive. It's like down the hill, and it's like you got cliff on this side, and you got a waterfall that comes down. You got all these little resort stops along the way, but there's zero cell phone coverage in that area. Like you're definitely going through a dead zone when you're going through there. Lo and behold, that's where I got a flat tire. Right, I got a flat tire on New Year's Eve, and I had like I'd really bumped my toe really bad the night before. I'd had a big fall because we had a power outage, and I fell out the stairs out front of our house, and it banged right on my toe, like all my weight on my toe. So I was like limping along on this stupid toe, and I got a flat tire. And so we pull into this one spot, and there was like, there's no signal around, but there was this one spot where people were having like a little like birthday party or something. No, it was a New Year's party. Fuck, it was the end of the year. What am I talking about? It was a birthday. It's a New Year's party. And we called them over to see if we get some help, if they had like a way to use the phone to like call a tow truck or call somebody to help us out. Because also the thing is that like we had anyways, long story short, I didn't have the tools were taken out of my van. I didn't have a jack or anything to get my thing done. And like they were partying, and the guy comes out. It's a boiling hot day, and he comes out. He's got his hydraulic lift. He goes to change the tire, but people start coming out from the party. They're offering us beer. I'm like, I got to drive the rest of the way, but thank you. And the guy, they bring out the stereo. They start having a party around my van, getting the tire changed, and they helped us. And then sure enough, we got into town on the spare. And I go, and there's one last like Go Maria, like a tire place open. The guys helped me out there. Small town, and again, the city, nobody would give you help. They just drive right past you. Nobody would give you help in the city, And like, yeah, I don't know, man. I have a friend of mine who's like, yeah, he just doesn't get it. He loves the city, loves the convenience, loves all this stuff, but he doesn't have a wife and kids, and like he doesn't know how to cook. So, I mean, I guess it's like a little bit different for him, but like for us, it's like, man, like where we live is heaven. I love it out here. I absolutely love it out here. And if I never had to go to a city again, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. There's no point. I don't like them. There's no point to going. I really enjoy not living in a city, and that's my issue for this week. So, yeah, man.
That's a great issue, and I agree with you. And I'm going to go ahead and cede this week's contest to El Chaco. He nailed it. Fuck cities. Nobody is shooting homeless people on the side of the road in where Chaco's living in Paraguay, but they are doing it where I live. So
saw that.
As a bit of business, my video seems to be ramping like a motherfucker.
Oh dear. Is my connection really bad? Have I like cut in and out like a bunch of times tonight?
Not at all, but my video seems to be like I've been noticing, like I'll take a drink of water and I'll set my glass down and I'll look back at the screen, and then my avatar will pick up the glass of water. So I'm gonna restart Brave and restart my computer, and I'll be back in a minute and see if that fixes it. So
okay,
give me 2 seconds. Well, give me like 2 minutes because I gotta. I'll be back.
Sounds good. Am I by myself in this? I guess I am. In the comments, who's still around? Give us a shout out. What city are you in? Hey, all right. Got some family viewers here. Got more than one. Love it. Wish I had a good joke to tell you guys. While you guys are here, I'm gonna look up a joke. Let's see if ChatGPT can write us a good joke while Tab's gone. Oh, come on. ChatGPT, this is terrible. It says, why is rural living better than living in cities? Well, in the countryside, you never have to worry about traffic jams. Instead, you get to enjoy the occasional sheep jam when a flock decides to take a leisurely stroll down the road. Talk about getting your daily dose of fluffy traffic. That's terrible.
What are you reading?
I was trying to entertain the audience that's still watching, and I was asking ChatGPT to come up with a joke about cities, and it did not deliver.
Yeah, sorry. My video's still totally fucked. I don't know. Son of a bitch. Like, I restarted my computer too.
Thankfully, most people listen to it as an audio podcast.
Yeah, I don't know. That's weird. Because I even was like, I'm not going to restore any of my tabs, and I'll just reopen them. So now I have to go find all our fucking news stories again, like a jackass.
Rocky View CDA says ChatGPT sucks. Most of the time. Most of the time. If not for ChatGPT, I wouldn't be doing this episode right now.
That's true. Let's not throw aspersions on the things that are helping us out.
One thing I do like about cities in Asuncion, or Asuncion as a city, is that you get a lot of privacy when you're living in your house there. They got a lot of walls between places, not just fences, walls, and they go really high. So like once you get home, you're in your fortress. Whereas where I'm at, as you know, as I've talked about my hillbilly neighbors before, yeah, they're not going to sell to me. So I'll be building a wall soon. I'm going to be going full Trump on the perimeter of my property here real soon. Now that I got paid. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm laggy as shit for absolutely no reason because fuck me, I guess. I don't know.
I can manage. Just so long as you don't give me too many like hand signals to shut up or something.
I'm giving you a jerk off now. Whenever the video catches up on the jerk off, you'll know that I was giving the jerk off.
What is this? A New York Times staff meeting? Zoom meeting?
Speaking of New York Times staff meetings, officials warn of oh wait, sorry. Well, that brings us to the middle of our episode, which means it's time for.
This episode is brought to you by He's a Blackface Lawyer News Network. I'm calling the police. 2 if you count the cows.
Officials are warning of a monkeypox resurgence ahead of the summer LGBTQRS, TUV, WX, and Z festivals. It's May 17th risk assessment. The CDC warned that there is a substantial risk of renewed monkeypox outbreaks across the United States, given the recent uptick in cases in Chicago, which began in mid-April.
Shut them down. It's unsafe.
Yeah,
Shut it down.
They should.
Shut it down.
Gay,
totally unsafe.
Bisexual, and other men who have had sex with men, which they're in parentheses, they have it labeled as MSM, men's sex with men, I guess.
That's a thing?
Apparently.
I thought MSM was mainstream media. I guess. Same thing. Same thing.
You can think of it as men having sex with men, or the mainstream media accounts for the majority of monkeypox cases in the United States. Which is wild because I thought we were all at risk. I thought it was like all of us were living in my house, not talking to anyone, was equally at risk as someone like Tony from Hack the Movies, who's going out and hanging out with people like that pedophile that's on The Biggest Problem in the Universe. Which one? I don't know.
Of the multiples. Oh boy.
The joke against Dick. Check out the Mad Cooks YouTube. We put out a video. Well, I put out a video in my alley about Dick getting kicked off YouTube. Yeah, so the CDC is warning about monkeypox again, but it's not like, hey, CDC, how does it spread though? Like, how does it spread though? Has it? Dogs and kids are getting monkeypox. Yeah, how they getting that though?
I don't know. Maybe it must have been like
I don't
plastic
know.
straws. I don't know. Maybe they weren't climate changing enough. I don't know.
It was probably the plastic. You know what? I think you sleuthed it out, partner. It was definitely the plastic straws.
Got to get rid of them. Get rid of all the plastic straws.
I got a news story here from Dad Cucks. Oakland A's fire broadcaster for mispronouncing the
I
word
saw this.
Negro after inspirational visit of the Negro League Museum. The Oakland A's longtime sports announcer Glenn Coupier was fired by NBC Sports on Monday after uttering
Hard
a
R, too.
racial slur
Hard
during
R.
the
I
live
watched it.
broadcast, which he said was an accidental fluke. I guess I should have pulled this up on my computer so we could listen to the audio.
It was
But,
a hard R too.
I believe it. I believe it. I believe it. It was not a Naker moment. It was apparently something else.
No.
That's got like, you got to think, right? Like he's sitting there, right? And he's like, no hard R, 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 no hard R. And we're back. All right, everybody. We have a thing from the no. Like he overhyped himself.
Well, there was this is like the second one. I think in like, I don't know if it's the last year or two, but there was like another one. I think it was like the Cincinnati Reds, maybe. I think it was the Cincinnati Reds. And it wasn't an N-bomb. It was the word that the Nostalgia Tall ad said that will get you canceled. That starts with an F and means a bundle of sticks.
Faggot.
Yeah, faggot. So that's the one. So the guy it was between innings, and he was like, okay, this is just I'm a little bit off into the weeds, but like Harry Shearer of the Simpsons fame,
Simpsons, yeah.
and Spinal Tap fame,
The bass player for the Folksmen.
Yes, yeah. He used to like. Did you ever, when you were growing up, did you ever like go to a friend's house who had like a satellite dish? And I'm not talking like a Dish Network or something like that. I'm talking like a legit, like big old giant like ET dish in the back of their house. Oh man. I only knew a few people that had them, and they were so freaking cool because you could like pick off like anything, any channel, like all over the place. It was amazing. But the problem is also too, what you could get their feeds. So like when they're doing a live broadcast and they go off to like commercial and stuff like that, all their affiliates put on their like local commercials. Meanwhile, they're just still recording in between like, the commercials and stuff. So during one of these, the guy was talking about this thing, and I don't know if it was like Grounds Crew or something. And he's like, some faggot thing or something like that. But they had actually come back from the break.
Oh no.
And so like they knew that he got caught on that. And what was so sad was like the next inning, he like immediately apologized.
Yeah, I remember
and
this
he
one. He's
knew-
like, and that's way out there, and that's it for me.
Yeah,
That
I'm
guy?
done.
Yeah.
I'm done. It's over. And it's just like, you just know. And that's so sad.
Yeah, there's no forgiveness these days for those kind of things, right? Like we're supposed to forgive our cities being burnt to the ground, but there's no forgiveness when like a guy, mixes up a word and says the wrong thing.
No, well, not even just that, right? Like an entire career gets obliterated over it. Like Don Imus hasn't worked really since.
Well, he's dead.
Well, okay, but you know what I mean. He didn't exactly rejuvenate his name before he died. But
Yeah.
like,
Well, here's
So
the
there
thing
was
about nappy-headed hose, right? Did you
Yes.
know that was racial when he said it?
I don't know. Not really, sort of. I don't know. I knew what nappy was, but like,
Here's the thing is
it's not even like a word I use that much
As
at
a
all.
child-
Actually, I don't even say that much. I never use it.
as a guy with like super curly hair, I thought nappy headed was just the thing that curly haired people were saying.
Maybe.
So when that whole thing happened, I was like, what is the racial thing in here? Is it because he called them hoes? And they're like, no, it's the nappy headed. And I'm like, well, I'm nappy headed though. Like
Yeah.
I'm like this, at the time I I don't think I was even 16. I was like 14 or 15 years old, and I had this like curly hair that would just fucking frizz out and nothing. And I'm like, I'm not beheaded. I think they're like I'm allowed to say those words. Apparently
Well, you
not.
wanted him canceled. You wanted reparations. You wanted your $1 million.
I
and a
did
mule.
want him canceled. Yeah.
Well, not for that reason, but like. So here's the thing, like, I just heard about this too. There was a study done. That was regarding like, because like there was this whole thing about speaking of cities, the city bike thing, where there was that nurse.
Yeah, that was fucked up.
Yeah, so that nurse was like paid for a bike, and then like some urban youth,
Utes,
or like
some Utes, if you will,
some youths, some joggers, some cyclists, some seasoning police. They came up to him or came up to this lady and like wanted to take the bike away and claimed that they'd paid for it. And like the media ran with it in a total Covington Catholic way.
It was
like
infuriating because like within an hour, it's like, nah, that was her bike. And I was like,
yeah,
that's not news. That's not news. Then cancel it. What are the Kardashians
under
doing?
review from her employer?
She was fucking
still
suspended
under
from
review.
her job, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. A pregnant lady, 6 months pregnant, 36-year-old woman. And like, okay, now like we just talked about like nappy headed was, I didn't know at the time, or you didn't know at the time, was like really bad racial. Okay. All right. But now it's like Karen is the new thing. And like Karen, you can drop that on anybody at any time you want. But
that's
like,
our word, Joel.
That's our word. We're going to reclaim it. I'm going to name my next daughter Karen. But like
Aaron.
But like the thing that gets me about this is that they did a study. It turns out that in particular, liberals, people of color, and women, when they receive an apology for an infraction like that, still want more punishment. So there's no fucking point of apologizing. Why apologize?
Yeah.
When like just at a certain point you gotta like lean into it. Just lean right into it. Like
you're
like,
racist.
All right, fine. Yep. Yes. These fucking black guys were trying to take my bike away, and I will not apologize for it. Fuck them.
Yeah.
Like, why not?
I
Right?
paid
Like,
for the fucking bike. It's my fucking
Yes.
bike. They can get every inch of fucked. Yeah.
Yes. These bike thieves over here, these joggers, these cyclists, these seasoning police.
Are we still on YouTube? Are we?
Yeah.
Well, I have a piece of fish news for you.
Oh,
El
hey,
Chaco.
awesome.
A piranha attack leaves 8 people injured. At least 8 people have been left injured in a piranha attack in Brazil, which is also near you, with the victim suffering bloody wounds, according to the media. The fish are said to have torn into their legs at a beach resort in Turuma-Aku, a region that lies in the north of Manaus, a city that sits on the Amazon River. Shocked victims understood to have been playing in the stream on May 1st during the Labor Day holiday. During the Labor holiday, because that's, that big commie holiday. They were suddenly felt sharp pains on their feet and legs. One victim said that they only realized that they had been attacked upon getting out of the water and finding others nursing their wounds. Images taken to the scene show how several people had to have their bloodied feet bandaged up after receiving nasty bites from the vicious fish. And I kind of feel like this writer for RNN just wanted like weird feet pics, which is why there's pictures of these people's fucking feet in this article.
Oh man, what is this like?
And you have,
that guy's
correct
name?
me if I'm
Dan.
wrong.
Oh, what's this guy's name? What was the Nickelodeon
Dan
guy?
is that wasn't Dan Harmon? That was
No.
Dan Schneider.
Yeah, both Dans are total creepazoids, but yeah, that Dan Schneider.
Totally true. You have piranhas, if I recall
I have
correctly.
vegetarian piranhas, so I have pacu, and they're dorky. I mean, if you look them up on like, if you look them up on,
So they're like
Google
regular
Images-
vegetarians.
I will do that, Mr. Kill Everything. Absolutely.
Mr. Kill Everything's a mensch. He's the best of the best.
He's great. He's great. I followed you on Twitter, pal. You got to follow. The pacu that I have, PACU. If you look it up on Google Images, they're the most dorky piranhas. So basically, like when you think of a piranha, you think of like these jagged, like needle teeth. right? Like shark teeth, basically,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So my pacu look just like them, except they look like they're wearing like an old man's dentures. Like they're like they're totally like flat at the top and stuff like that, and like and they're vegetarian. But it's funny because like the thing is like there's these places like so everybody often when it comes up to me, like anybody hears that I'm living in Paraguay, they're like, where's Paraguay? And then they look it up and they're like, whoa, like, are there any good beaches there? I'm like, no, there's literally no good beaches here.
No,
like,
stay out of my country, you fuck.
Yeah. This sucks. You don't want to be here. The thing is that like, it's funny because like I had read some of these horrible Amazon River fish stories, not just piranhas. There's like a fish. I don't know. I don't know what it's called. I mean, I'll probably look it up. ChatGPT will know. But there's like a fish that like is attracted to like urea. It's in urine. So like what ends up happening is like there's tails. There's lots of tails of this and this thing's like a spiky nosed fish. And if you pee into the river,
up your penis.
It'll swim up your pee and it'll go right and stick right into the end of your Johnson.
Yeah,
And,
I've
like,
heard
the
about
needles,
this one.
That is a huge nope for me.
Fucking
so
horrifying.
I like swimming in my pool, but like you know, I won't be like frolicking around in any unknown rivers around here anytime soon.
I don't blame you. That's all the news we have this week, and this has been
Veriqueta News Network. Definitely not fake news.
And that takes care of our legal obligations this week. But you know what it doesn't take care of?
It doesn't take care of your trip to go and visit your sister.
That is true. It also doesn't take care of the special condoms we're going to wear so that we don't get weird fish in our penises. And if you want to help us protect our penises, you can visit us at, not just from those fish, but also from people that want to mutilate our penises for religious reasons. You can visit us at patreon.com. Sorry, you can visit us at subscribestar.com/HWIDG, tip.hwidg.com, patreon.com/HWIDG. And over there, we have 5 tiers. We have the $1 tier, which gets you early access to each week's episode, plus our monthly minisodes. We have our $2 tier, we throw in a bits and bobs we do now and again. We have our $5 tier, we do our bonus episodes. Here's what I do get, where we drop the hate and talk about what's great. El Chaco and Buck just did an episode recently talking about the long, slow road to recovery in the nation of Paraguay. So if you want to find out more about that, you can check out that bonus episode. We are a $10 tier where we do our movie commentaries, where you, the fans, submit films. You vote on what film we watch, and we watch it, record a feature on the commentary. And then finally, we have our $50 Spite Producer tier, where you get a say in the show. You can say, like, hey, I want you guys to, like, add a Discord channel. I want you to have a special guest. I want you to do this episode. I want you to change the format. Anything you want that we can reasonably accomplish, we will do so. And we want to say thank you to all our patrons and supporters on all the different platforms, big and small, because without your generous support, we would have been like, fuck this shit. I got better things to do. I have 110 hours of work to do this week. I don't need to do an episode of Here's What I Don't Get. I've got a deadline from some fucking cock, and I can't do an episode this week. So that's why we're doing it. You guys are the best.
Yeah, you guys rock. Thank you for everything.
And so let us jump into my issue this week. Here's what I don't get. Cultures that don't plant trees.
You're talking about the Japanese, right?
No, they plant trees. They're just
bonsai trees. They don't count.
So I've had this dream my whole life. Like I've always wanted to live on I was thinking about this today. I told you what my issue was a couple days ago, but today I was going to lunch and I was riding down this street, and it was this beautiful like side street in the neighborhood, and it was one of those streets where, you know, the trees are massive and they overhang the street. So you're in this like beautiful shade. There's all these beautiful houses, and I was riding down that street and I just thought, yeah, this is the type of street I've always wanted to live on. I've always wanted to live on that street. I've always wanted to live where the road was shaded by the trees.
Like an arch. Like an arch of trees. Yeah.
Exactly.
Love those.
And I've been there's the house that The Notebook was filmed at. I talked about this a couple episodes ago where I did a show there, and but it has these like cypress trees that arch the road as you go up to the house, and it's just like it's picturesque and beautiful. And I've always wanted to live on one of those kinds of streets. And the thing is, like, you can't buy that. You can't buy a 60-foot tree that overhangs the street.
No, you got to wait.
Yeah, and you have to plant the tree. And I was like, I lived in this house. I really like this house, but my next door neighbor, they have trees, both sides. They got a tree in their lot. I don't have a tree in my lot. And I was like, I would really love if my backyard had like a big oak tree or, something with a big leafy canopy that would shade my whole yard. That would be amazing. A pecan tree, maybe harvest the nuts, give them away to the neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't put just like call up the pecan tree place and have them just drop some fucking tree in my yard.
No, Amazon doesn't sell them.
They don't.
Amazon doesn't sell those.
But I could plant a sapling.
Yeah, which is what I've done.
Yeah, and El Chaco, he has an orchard of fruit trees, like. But to plant a tree there's a quote from somewhere, and I'm probably misphrasing this, but it's like a great man will plant a tree whose shade he will never be able to dwell in, and that's like our culture now has been created by people who have not planted trees because, well, I'm never going to get to dwell in that shade. And it's the difference between long-term and short-term thinking in a culture. So like my parents owned a home when I was born, or they lived in this home, and they planted a tree, like this 1-year-old sapling, when I had my first birthday.
Aw.
And my dad, they planted these saplings when my sisters were young, and now they're like these like reedy trees. My tree's been around for 30 years, but my sister's trees have only been around for 15 years or something. And they're these little reedy trees, but someday there'll be these big things that overhang the yard and create the shade, and they're like a testament of growth. And there's a type of person that plants that kind of tree. There's a culture that says we can't just look at the short term. We have to look at what is our world going to be like next year. And what's amazing to me is like we ostensibly live in that kind of culture where they want to say, let's live in the world of trees. Let's put our, we have to recycle our plastics, and you got to recycle your cans, and you got to do this kind of shit. You got to do that kind of shit. But they're like, we live in a world of cultures where they're not planting trees. And not just are they not planting trees because they don't have the long-term look to say, what will our neighborhood look like in 20 years, in 40 years, in 60 years? What will the street that my grandchildren pull into look like? And what can I do to make that street that they pull into feel like grandpa's? They're just like, I'm done with this. I'm done with this bottle, El Chaco, which is not going to show up on video. I'm done with this. This is the last fat tire. Like, this is what I've been drinking tonight, is the last fat tire. Now it's a carbon neutral fat tire. Yeah. Now it's a carbon neutral fat tire. This is last fat tire. You know what this is? Trash. That's just trash. Just fucking throw that on the ground. That's trash. We don't need that shit. I don't fucking need that fat tire. Fuck that fat tire. This glass is trash to some people.
Don't throw it.
I'm not going to. This bottle actually didn't break. I have expected it to break. It didn't break. Like, I see all this bitching and moaning from people about how people like me don't recycle. Like, oh, Tab, you don't recycle. You just put all your shit in one can and then take it out to the dumpster behind your house. Yeah, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck about where this shit ends up in a landfill. I don't fucking care. But I am the type of person that wants to plant a tree. Because the bottle doesn't matter. The bottle's going to get ground down into dust. It's nothing. But the tree is your legacy. And those are the kind of things like a A tree is a metaphor. It's not just like the tree that my parents planted is not just a plant.
No.
It's the kind of person you want to raise. Do you want to raise someone that says, what will this be in 10 years? Or do you want to plant the kind of person that says, everything in your life is trash. Everything in your life is disposable. Everything around you is fleeting. And when you approach life as a culture that plants trees, where what you do matters and what you do counts, and when you make a decision, you're affecting things around you, and when you approach life as a culture that says, I'm done with this beer is empty, this beer is worthless. I start to see things like, have you I was going to say, I remember a couple of years, like, we've been dealing with this whole plastic bag ban back and forth for several years, where it's like, we're going to ban
plastic, man. You got to pay for them. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
We got to ban plastic bags, and then it's like, oh my God, people are taking the China virus home with them. We need to have plastic bags again. And then they'll like post pictures of fields just full of fucking empty plastic bags blowing around. You're not seeing fields of empty plastic bags where you are in rural Paraguay or rural Oklahoma or rural Missouri. You know where you are seeing just trash piled up like it's nobody's fucking business? In the city. I pulled up to my fucking house. I pulled up to my fucking house a couple nights ago, and there's a van blocking the alley, and I park in my garage, and I enter and exit my garage from the alley behind my house. And there's a van fucking blocking the way. And I'm on my motorcycle, so it's like, I don't give a shit. I can fucking fit between you and the shit around you. But what this van was doing was just throwing all of their mail on the ground.
What?
There was just a pile of shit on the ground beside me.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I'm like, what? And my first thought, because I live in a city, my first thought was, this is a bunch of stolen shit that they're dumping. So I wrote down their license plate and the make and model and all those kinds of things, and like,
what are you, a Karen?
Descriptions of the individuals. And you know, people are going to be like, oh, here's a dog whistle. Tab, you're dog whistling. But I'm not dog whistling, because the next morning I came out into the alley and I'm getting my bike ready to leave, and I come out of the garage and one of my neighbors comes back, and it's a black woman. And we start talking, and she's like, what is this? You know, I had to move my car back here because they're tearing out the street. And I'm like, yeah, this van was here. I didn't know what was going on. They didn't seem really like normal people. So I decided to not really intervene because they kind of seem scuzzy, if you know what I mean. And she said, yeah, that makes sense. I'm calling my sons. We'll clean this up. Don't worry about it. And I was like, I'd love to help you, but I have to leave for work. This is fucking 7:30 in the morning. 7:30 in the fucking morning, I'm having a conversation with my neighbors about how some jackass pulled into our fucking alley and dumped all their trash. Because my neighbors, black, white, whatever, Mexican, my neighbors are people that want to plant trees. We want to live in a neighborhood. We want to live in a neighborhood where you can grow up here, where like the kids matter, where you're going to keep an eye out for each other. We don't want to live in a neighborhood where the bottles are trash and you can just dump trash any fucking where you want. And I'm really getting tired of this culture of disposability, and I'm really getting tired of being told that, like, my culture doesn't matter. And it's like, you know, there are cultures in the United States that don't care about taking care of the areas that we're in. And there are cultures that do. And so when you pretend that we're all evil and we're all different and we're all fucking this and that, we're not. Like, there are definitely people that are raised to believe that everything that comes and goes. And there are those that believe that, like, what you do matters, and like setting an example and raising people. Like, this woman brought her sons, who I assume were my age or slightly younger. They didn't live with her, but they got to clean up their mom's house, because that's what you fucking do. You fucking take care of family, because your mom's the tree and you're the tree, and we're planting that tree. And And yeah, so I want to live on the street that's arched by the greenery. I want to live in the shade of the generation before me that took care of things. And I'm really being confronted with the fact that the generation before me was like, nah, we don't want to live with those trees. Those trees are tearing up our sidewalk. Well, fucking redo your sidewalk then. No, we'll tear the tree out. We'll tear the tree out and fucking harvest this shit for wood, and you can go pick up the wood at the park a couple miles away and burn it in your backyard or in your wood burning stove because it doesn't matter. Like, nah, we have to work. You have to work within your limitations. Like, that is what makes art. As a person that works in the arts, as a person who may or may not be an artist, working in your limitations is what creates that. And there's been a generation before us that decided they weren't going to plant any more trees, and their parents planted trees, and they were just like, "Yeah, we're not going to do that. Our parents planted those trees. We got trees, no big deal. We'll just throw this shit away. This shit is all trash to me," and I'm really tired of confronting like the day-to-day bullshit of that culture. And just like, yeah, now you're left to deal with it. Now you're left to deal with the trash because we couldn't do it.
So I mentioned earlier I had followed Mr. Kill Everything on Twitter, and because I just made a Twitter account for the first time in forever, and because I want to launch another channel at some point in time, and it's what you're talking about is very in tune with what I want to talk about on my channel. I created an Odyssey channel, and I've been mirroring some of the videos from here that I've been in, but my plan is to work on kind of talking about what you're talking about. And I've defined it, well, I mean, others have defined it as well, but as a high trust society.
Yeah.
Okay. So a high trust society is where you can trust that your neighbors got your back, that they care about your.
I've got an excellent example of that. Another, my neighbor opposed to me. We've exchanged a dozen words. A couple nights ago, I came home. I parked my bike in the garage. I went inside. I thought I closed the garage door, and I didn't. Or like maybe I pushed the button in my pocket again. And so I'm checking my activity the next morning. First off, he tried to knock on all the doors of my house, and I was fucking dead asleep because I was exhausted. And when that didn't work, he closed my garage and jumped through the thing.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Like, okay, so
we'll wave, hey, I'm back here grilling. Like, oh, hey, good to see you.
That's sweet.
It. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the kind of society I want to live in.
Well, because you described, like, so when I was growing up in Calgary, we lived at the end of a street, and then like all my friends were on the street facing our house faced
leading into you.
And it was just all of them are along the side there. And like when you get home from school and you go and you like, you know, you have a snack or something, and then you want to go out and play, you'd want to look to where your friends were. But it's not like we all had cell phones or anything like that. The way you knew where all your friends were is that's where all the bikes were plopped in the front yard.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'll talk about this on my channel at some point, but like something changed when I was, and it was around honestly, it was like between grade 5 and grade 6 that we changed from being a high trust community to a low trust community almost overnight, because there was the city decided that they wanted to spread out where the social housing was and where there was different group homes for troubled kids and stuff like that. And they put them all. They didn't put them all. They put one in my community, and it changed my community almost overnight. We couldn't leave our bikes out anymore. Bikes started getting stolen, and you couldn't, you know, like Michael Moore, who I'm not a big fan of, but you know, when I was in university, I definitely caught a bunch of his movies. You know, like I liked them at the time, and I think it was Fahrenheit 9/11, where he went to Canada and he like noticed that like a bunch of like front doors were unlocked. Like you just walk up to people's front doors and like test that they were unlocked, and they were unlocked. But that's the kind of society I lived in. Because like, what were you afraid of? Like, you knew all your neighbors, and you knew what everybody was doing. So, we've lost something, and like in Canada, right before I left. No, not right before I left. What am I talking about? When I got back to Canada, Trudeau got elected, and he said that Canada was a post-cultural nation, a post-cultural country. And it hurt because it was like, no, we have a culture. Like, we have a culture. There's a culture. But there wasn't. Because when you really think about it, there's no unifying culture, right? Like, I could like point to like, oh yeah, this group and this group and this group that I grew up with. But then they would just slam us because we were all the same skin color. That somehow that was all just a white supremacy thing, to like be able to leave your bike as a kid at the front doorstep of your friend's house, and not assume it's going to get stolen.
Yeah.
And you lose something there. And like, so I've been doing a lot of research on this, like what's up with high trust societies, low trust societies. And there's another concept that I'm learning about, which is called high context and low context. And it's like how we communicate. Mm-hmm. And like, it's frustrating. It's frustrating because, as you're saying, like, you can look forward and like, for example, like we brought up about how I've probably planted, I want to say I've planted about 40 trees already. I've lived here for a year, right? And like, we're going to keep at them. And some of them are going to start fruiting in like 2 years, 3 years. Some are going to be in like 7 years. But I don't care. It's not for me. It's for my kids and my grandkids, right? Like there's a macadamia nut tree on my property. It's already producing nuts. These things are food. They're like shade. They're like promise. Like, you know, my wife goes into the garden, and like our garden's awesome. But like, you know, you have to tend to it. You have to like plant things every year. You have to like pick your seasons and do all that kind of stuff. A tree's a tree. A tree, just like you set it off, you get it going, and then it's automatic. It's like doing its thing. Mm-hmm. And that's the kind of thing that like, it's that whole teach a man to fish thing. Whereas if you could just kind of put the time in, you're going to have this for a long period of time. It's going to be forever. But it's weird that we even have to discuss it. Like, for example, in Paraguay, there's a law where like half of my property is trees. Half of it like is just like dense forest. And I it's fun to go hunting around in there, and maybe I'll find gold in there someday or something. But like, you know, it's like, you know, partially unusable, really cool, great tree that keeps other people out. But the thing is that what I find really interesting about it is like there's a law here where you can't cut down more than, I think, 25% of the trees on your property. And they like will like use like GPS or like satellite photos or something like that to prove that you're not doing that, because they have a problem, which is, and I mean, you've all heard about like the Amazon forest and ranchers like plowing under trees and doing all that kind of stuff. And like, you know, we could talk about like where you toss your bottles and your cans, but like there's something to be said for not clear cutting. There's something to be said for how we consume things. And like, I look at my forest and I go, okay, well, you know, if I cut down any trees, I'm going to replant something right in its place, right? Like right in its place. Like I dream of a food forest, right? Which takes time. And like, there's a guy named Jeff Lawton. It starts with a G. Jeff Lawton is his name. And he's like the food forest guy. And he talks about it like when you're building a food forest, it's not like you said, you can't just plop a tree in. Yeah. And a food forest like requires different levels. It's got its canopy trees, it's got its climbers, it's got its shade trees, it's got all those kind of things. And so like when we're planting our trees, we have to like factor that all in. We have to factor in where the water comes in. We have to factor in how much shade is going to, we don't want this thing to get roasted in its first year. So maybe I'll plant another tree next to it that grows a little faster, that maybe I'm not going to keep there forever, but like it'll keep it shaded for a while. And then at a certain point in time, I'm going to chop that tree down and use that, drop it on the ground, and then like it'll feed the nutrients of the soil and stuff like that. And it's like this cycle, but it's like a lot of this planning ahead. People aren't doing that.
No.
But, and it's like, you could call it a fault thing, but I think that
Well, I think part of that
there's a
also,
certain type of person that is strictly incapable.
Yeah,
It's strictly incapable.
there is a type of person, and like we've cultivated this culture of instant gratification. There are so many things now. Now that I live in a larger city, like I'll be browsing Amazon for something, and it's like, we can deliver this to you by 4 p.m. today. I'm just like, do I need this by 4 p.m. today though? Do I want this? And so, but it's teaching people that dopamine hit of like, push a button, get banana.
Yeah.
And so when it's like, oh, you have to plant this tree and then you have to wait, 20 years to get apples. It's like, well, why the fuck would I do that when I can just go buy apples at the store? Why did I learn how to cook when I can just order, Uber Eats? Why would I do anything that I'm doing in my life when everything could be so much quicker and easier? And like we're creating a culture that will not plant trees. Like they'll go out there and they'll do their like, oh, we planted trees in the park because of global warming, but they won't like actually confront the fact, which is that so much of your life is disposable. So much of your life is the bottle that is worthless, instead of being the tree, which is what is become immortal. Plant a tree that will shade your grandchildren.
Amen. I like it. That's a great issue.
Thank you. Well, that brings us to the end of our episode, which means nothing. It just means thank you to all of our listeners. We really appreciate it.
Hey, before we wrap it up real quick,
go ahead.
If you're listening right now, and if you don't get annoyed by my shenanigans, I'm trying to rebuild up the Twitter thing, so you can find me at High Trust Chaco. That's because it's funny, because like all my old ones, they don't let me back to have them again. So that's my handle, is at High Trust Chaco. So I'd love to give me a shout out if you get a chance. And Twitter's weird when you got to build it up from scratch. It's like, you're tweeting out to like 3 followers. It's like weird at the beginning. So yeah, man, I really appreciate that.
Yeah, you can follow the Here's What I'll Get Twitter, which is I think like HWIDG Cast.
Yeah, you're unbanned.
I am trying to speed run getting banned again. I've been calling people retard. Oh man, there was a guy, I got into this debate about George Floyd, what happened to George Floyd with the guy. And I was like, you're a retard. And then he's like, well, prove it. And I posted like the screenshots of the court documents that showed that the autopsy was like not what it said it was. And like videos that showed that the knee wasn't on the neck. And he's like, where'd you even find these? And I was like, you need to kill yourself, you fucking piece of shit. So yeah, follow El Chaco, because we're getting HWIDG is getting banned. I swear to you that. So yeah,
I'm gonna prompt you. I'm gonna spur you on. I want that. I want that scalp.
Yeah. Until next time, I've been Tab Burt.
I'm El Chaco.
We'll catch you guys next week.
Ciao, ciao.
If you want to call on the Here's What I Get hotline, call us at 704-750-9434 and tell us what you don't get. Or you can visit us on the Discord, which is on the website. I think it's like hwg.com/Discord, where we also have a voicemail channel. And here's one from that voicemail channel. If this fucking computer will click. Piece of crap.
Yes, hello there. And oh boy, were last week's issues had me thinking a lot on what to say. Since Tim's not here, I'll be focusing on Tab's issue. 2 things. 1, waking up for school. For me, looking back at my senior year, I was the first person to board the bus that would arrive at 6:15 a.m., which required waking up at 5:45 in order to get dressed, eat breakfast, and then school would begin at 7:20. In the winter, where we get less sunshine, 7:20 feels like I'm attending a night class.
Yeah.
I can't complain about too much because in the long run, most adults will wake up for our typical 9 to 5 shift, and school starting at 7:20 was more or less to get everyone's ears accustomed to it. On that note, it is worth noting that when I started high school used to start at 7:25, but they shifted it to 7:20 later on. I questioned if they pushed it later to 8 or not. The second would be YouTube. Your rant on YouTube reminded me of an unpopular opinion that I once had back when creators were complaining about either demonetization or when the ad apocalypse was happening. My unpopular opinion? I thought it was a good thing as a viewer. Don't get me wrong, yes, creators need those ads in order to pay those bills. My thought process is that if they like you so much, they'll support you by means of Patreon. I don't want to sit through stupid ads telling me that I should buy a car that would belong on some forbidden channel, wink wink, or some political campaigns that demands my vote, both of which are unskippable. Just, ugh. Oh, and I suppose that pizza guy is looking for a job. Let's pray that he finds a home soon. Thanks. Catch you on 340.
Do you want to pray for the pizza guy?
I want to pray for Mr. Kill Everything.
Oh, you're for the first follower on Odyssey. I told you that guy's a mensch.
God bless you, brother.
That guy's the best of the best.
I plan on getting something done in the next month here. I'm gonna get. I got a schedule. I'm gonna be doing it. I don't want to pull another hot choco where I have to pull the plug right away and have to get canceled. But going back to our caller, I feel you, brother. In Canada, the winters going to school was ridiculous. We'd have those early morning waiting for the bus, and it was totally like going to school at nighttime. It was crazy.
Yeah.
We got a green bottle or something. What's going on?
Yeah, I got a green bottle, and I thought it was really funny with the. It's like it's just a label.
Yeah. And back to the apocalypse thing. Yeah, I get that. Like, I feel like there's a type of YouTube content creator that is totally ad friendly and whatever. I'm getting it for free. I'm not paying for it. I'm getting it for free. It's hard though, because the thing is, like, I like supporting Patreon type things. I don't personally use Patreon anymore, but I try to support in other ways. But it's roughly the same idea. You want to support those creators. You want them to keep going. There's a type of creator out there though that's like a little scared to ask for the support, and it's this weird thing. Like, So one of my favorite streamers is Devin Stack, and he like pulled all of his stuff off of YouTube because he's like, I don't want to be beholden to it. I don't want to have to deal with it. I don't want to have to like censor myself. I don't want to have to do any of those kind of things. And I agree with him. Like I just said, I did instead of YouTube, I just did a Odyssey channel. That's it. And the thing is that there's this weird thing where once you start going down that path of like quitting your day job to do this, to do content creation and stuff like that, you're gonna have to play this game where it's like you're gonna put the stuff out there, but you want to piss off your supporters. You don't want to say anything that'll like you don't have a hot take go too hot, and you don't want to do certain things. Like I love, like you've brought up before about the Here's What I Don't Get audience. It's fantastic. I came back to this and I was like, I love that you told me, like, yeah, we kind of went through a phase. We got kind of burned off the dead brush of the bad ones, and now all we've got is good ones. And it's like this perfect space, because the thing is, like, we've said stuff already on here that one of these days is probably going to knock us off of YouTube, but like we're small enough that you can get by without tripping those wires. Someday you'll get big enough and it'll trip those wires, and then it's like, okay, well, now we're on D Live. Oh, nope. Now we're on BitChute. Nope. Now we're on, Odyssey.
We're going to Cozy TV with Ethan Ralph. That's where we're going.
Exactly. But the thing is that like, yeah, it's a tricky business. It's a tricky business to do this. You have to love it. You have to love it. It has to be like it
a
has to
calling.
be a hobby first. It has to be a hobby first. Like one of my, we've talked about, I don't know if we've talked about it, but there's like YouTubers that like review movies and stuff like that. And like there's ones that you like and ones that you don't. And there's ones that YouTube will suggest to you and ones that you don't want to listen to. Like I used to really like The Critical Drinker. I don't know what the hell he's doing right now, but he's like totally selling out with like a bunch of like,
Yeah,
this
he's
woke
been
movie's not so bad. It's like,
drinking.
well, you're Scottish, bro. Like, I mean, maybe your Overton window's a little bit further than mine because I ain't tolerating that crap.
Yeah, that's the way Red Letter Media has scorned me with their "We like Star Trek Pickard." Gene, look. Here's one from the voicemail hotline.
Hey, Deadhelm. That's what I don't get. People that don't understand how to turn off the automatic brights on your fucking new car. I just had this fucking liberal in a goddamn, I don't even know what it was. I just blinded by it. I'm going to assume it's a Honda, because this new Honda fucking headlights are just, eye pain. And this motherfucker, keep in mind, Texas doesn't have any roads that are just fucking straight. Everything has to be a 90-degree angle for no good goddamn reason. So every time I fucking take a corner fast, because I need to get the fuck away from the person because he's not turning, he's just, like his automatic brights turn on. He goes, oh shit, my brights are on. And then fucking, for some reason, takes him 30 seconds to find the little thing that you pull on the side. And then he goes, I don't know if you can hear that, obviously, but just randomly flicks it off. And then every time I go around a corner, it turn back on. And then wait till I was fully blinded by the light of God, and then turn it back off again. So then eventually I just flashed my reverse lights at him, saying, hey, asshole, knock it off. So then he backed off enough for me to finally get past him. I know I'm running this long, I apologize. But fucking Christ, learn your vehicle. Learn about your vehicle before you buy it. Research. Don't be a fucking idiot that just goes, oh, this one's purple, it looks pretty. No, be a fucking man. Stay experienced.
I think you just gotta drive with your high beams on at all times. Fuck everyone else,
Dude. So one of the seasoning portions of Paraguay, rural Paraguay, is I'm in the vast minority of people who own a like enclosed vehicle, like a car or a truck or a van. Because a lot of people here have motorcycles.
Oh, I gotta move down there.
I
don't think I've driven. I drove my car for the first time in like a month, a couple days ago, and I was like, this blows.
No,
I
man.
was going to get groceries, and I was just like, I hate all of this.
But it's like, I also live in an area that does not have a lot of street lights. So like at nighttime, it's dark. It's like really dark. And when you're driving around and people don't have their headlights on, so there's a type of Paraguayan that is foolish and believes that
They don't have to
somehow
plant
by
trees.
turning on your headlights, it makes you use more gasoline. And so they'll be driving at night with no lights on. And when I'm driving with my family in the car and like we're driving, I'm like, I have to have night vision, like crazy good night vision to drive sometimes. Cause like you'll be driving and there'll be like a ghost motorcycle in front of you all of a sudden. Now, like when you're driving in an area that doesn't have a lot of street lamps, you're gonna want to have your high beams on for a long period. And when you're driving, and I'm on as long as I can, but I'm considerate. I would not fault this caller. But man, what's funniest to us is like for example, yeah, there are plenty of them that come the other way and they don't respond to the like flashing, like the hey buddy, you forgot your high beams. Like, you know, they don't. That I guess that's not universal. But my favorite is like there's a lot of. I mean, of course, there's a lot of poverty in Paraguay, and a lot of times that there's people here that like will have a light go out, and like back home, like the cops will stop you, like, oh, hey, buddy, you got a light out, you know,
Yeah.
and you get a ticket for it. Not here. Cops come out on like Sundays to like get money for their asado, and that's about it. But like the
Wait, the cops come out on Sundays?
Yeah,
That's
they
bullshit.
do.
They should be at home on Sundays.
I know
Or
they
in
should. Blue
church.
laws, but I'm bummed.
Yeah.
But so we'll see sometimes. Like my favorite thing is like, because like on these motorcycles, like there'll be like a family on them. You know, like dad's
wow.
driving, kids in front of them, babies in between, mom's on the back. She's holding a big propane tank to refill for back home. And but like there's times where you're seeing like at nighttime where there's motorcycles going and clearly his headlamp is broken. And so there'll be like the passenger holding on and like in his hand is like his like
Oh,
phone
he's got like
flashlight. And so you're like, yeah, that works. Exactly.
That's hilarious. It's funny because like motorcycle, like my bike, I can't turn the headlight off. I have on and high beam. Those are my two settings. There's no in between. So it's yeah, I get that's wild. Here's one from Matt from Minnesota.
Cool.
Hello, Tab and co-host, Matt from Minnesota. I'm about 2.5 minutes into the previous episode, which is the newest episode. And I just have to call and say, those dirty riggers.
With an R on
Thank
both
you.
ends.
And good night.
That was a hard R. That's our word.
Yeah, that is their yeah.
We gotta
Another
reclaim that word.
Another person who called in midway through listening to the episode.
Holy shit, Dad. Listen to the show last episode. You got your story about your motorcycle and the guy who used Flex Seal on the airbox. Holy shit, man, that floored me. What a fucking idiot. Yeah, unless it was actually RTV, which kind of looks like Flex Seal and is a proper automotive component. But it was probably Flex Seal. Oh well, hey, at least you didn't use duct tape. You know, because that was really fucking stupid. Because, you know, duct tape's not rated for high heat unless it's special high heat duct tape. But, oh, well, I'm going to continue listening to the episode now.
One of my favorite things about Andy calls is that, like, I can only understand, like, 20% of them because his, like, mic clips. I don't know, like, I feel like he's, like, calling through an AM radio that's, like, echoing through another AM radio call-in show. Like, it's like the worst quality ever. But, like, what I do catch is funny as heck. And so thanks for the call-in.
I got another one from Andy.
No,
I listened a little further, and so you duct taped your motorcycle together. Yeah, you know, it's cool, man. It's cool. I mean, at least Red Green to be proud, right? And you know what you always said, right? If the women don't find you handsome, they'll, you know, still at least give you a handy. Something like that.
Here's the thing, though. So I did duct tape my motorcycle back together. I did not use duct tape like the tape that you buy in the store that's silver and has the, like, weird lattice of fibers. I used, like, actual duct tape that you seal ducks up. That is
And it worked.
heat rated. It did work. It's been running.
And you know
great.
what? Also, too, I find it interesting is how we were just talking about motorcycles and cheap repairs and that timely, Andy, timely.
Welcome to Motorcycle Repair Cast.
And was that a red green reference? I think that was a red green reference.
About duct tape?
Yes.
No, that was a literal story that I told last week on the show.
No. But I think he just dropped a red green reference. Because he said about the, like, you know, if they don't find you handsome, they should find you handy.
Oh,
which is
I
red
didn't
green.
even understand that part of what he was saying. So
Yeah,
he
that's
must
red
have.
green.
Yeah.
That's CanCon, baby.
I love red green.
Yeah, me too.
Hey, here's what I don't get. Every online recipe for any meal always calling for fresh herbs. So, you know, you read one of these recipes and it's like, oh, we'll add 2 sprigs of fresh oregano or fresh basil. You know what? I'm not fucking buying fresh herbs all the time. I tried it once and I used like 1/20th of the amount of herb that I bought from the grocery store, you know, the amount they sell it in, and the rest of it goes in my trash, wasted. And so every time I have to make a fucking meal, there's like 5 herbs and they're all supposed to be fresh. And every time I read the recipe, I have to do this. Okay, I'm reading the recipe. Go to Google, convert 2 sprigs of fresh oregano to how many tablespoons of dried oregano. Now do the same thing for basil. Now do the same thing for parsley. Every fucking time. And I cook every meal I eat. So it's such a time waste. Makes me so mad. Okay, that's it. Also, I'm the guy who submitted you the cringe of the week for Carl, and I've been waiting for you to listen to it, and I 100% agree with everything you say about Carl's show. The Chad Zumach shit is unlistenable, and there's way too much fucking E-drama on WATP, and I hope he goes back to actually being a good show. That's it. Bye.
Oh, okay, great. So I did finally catch the episode. I called in and left a voicemail with Carl. I don't know if it got played yet. I left the cat shit in intentionally. I cut out all the dead air about me getting bitten because I thought it was funny. And fuck Carl. I mean, I think we all agree there. You'd say fuck Carl, right?
I don't even know who Carl. I've never listened to a second of WHEP.
Yeah, but fuck that guy, right?
Sure.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, we're all there.
Okay, but let me get in there real quick here. So first off, he was like pulling a total seasoning police thing. I don't know if you saw. Did you see the? Yeah, you saw the seasoning police thing. So the whole time I'm like wanting to like do this and like point and like like do what the chick was doing in the thing.
Put the two hands up, like, oh, I don't know where did these seasonings come from? You can't see me because my camera has decided to shit the bed this week's episode.
I'll tell you how to solve that problem, pal. Kitchen gardens, baby, herb garden. Yeah,
I had one. I had basil plants. I had basil plants that got so prolific. That's probably not the right word.
Yeah, no, this works.
But basically, like the stems of the basil plants were starting to turn into wood.
Okay.
Because
they do that.
Yeah, we would trim the leaves off. You got to trim the flowers. That's a very important thing that people don't tell you because when herbs start to flower,
they shoot. Yeah.
The leaves start to taste like shit. And so, yeah, but it was it was literally a cardboard box that we put a trash bag in and filled with dirt and put these basil plants in, and we propagated them because we put fucking fresh basil in everything.
I couldn't get basil to work in Canada. Like we would try and we'd get like a herb garden and couldn't get it to work. Down here, no problem. Yeah. Down here, actually my favorite herb is rosemary. Rosemary is my favorite. You can use it because like garlic, rosemary, and salt is like the holy trinity of like grilling, right? And so we've got rosemary, we've got basil, we've got oregano. I'm enjoying your Are you enjoying your video here, by the way?
I fucking am so pissed off, man. I cannot express how much
I'm wondering if it's you weren't having as much problem when you weren't throwing the green screen background.
No, I've been doing the green screen for weeks, and I had no problems. And this week, it has shit the bed. Ooh. I don't know when I took that drink of water, but the video showing me taking a drink of water right now, that was several minutes ago.
Well, because it's funny, like I'll be talking and all of a sudden, like you're reacting, like I'll see you laughing, but I'm not sure if you're laughing at my joke or if it was like
now it's live. Now I'm fucking live, and then it'll fucking ramp up and be bullshit in not 2 fucking minutes.
And I'm the one on Paraguayan internet. You're the one on like St. Louis internet.
I have fucking straight wired gigabit internet into this motherfucker. I am so fucking irritated.
Mine's at like topping out at like 5.5 megabytes per second. I tested right before.
I have a button. I have a button right here underneath the soundboard. I'm at 940 up and down, and I'm getting this shit. I don't know what it fucking is. Like I restarted the computer. I've been trying to figure out if I'm taking CPU shit. I don't know. Fucking pissing me off, man. I'm so fucking annoyed. I will agree though, my last herb garden I had on the back porch, I had like these little planters of herbs. I had like mint and basil because that's one of my favorites, and they were cocktail ingredients basically. And you just get to the point where you're like, I can't fucking go back there and water this shit again. I'm done. So I'm with him.
This is the guy who, like 20 minutes ago, was telling about how important it is to plant trees. Water an herb garden.
Here's the thing, El Chaco. I was in a very, very dark part of my life where everything sucked constantly, and I was really done. So
fair enough.
I need to go get a plant. Because I have these like 2 little planters on my front porch that would be perfect. And I'm like, I could put basil in this one and mint in this one. and all summer have fresh basil in all my food and fresh mint in all my cocktails, and just be fucking set.
See, you should come. I still want you to come down and visit us someday. You must. I think you must come down here at some point in time. But what's funny about down here is yerbas or remedias, like remedies, like are a big thing. Like natural remedies are a big thing. And it seems to me like almost every tree, every plant, every weed, everything is an herb that they use as a medicine. And so we've got all types of them all over the place. But my favorite thing is with my wife and I is like, you'll be asking them, like somebody will say, "Oh yeah, this is good." Like, "Oh, you should not cut this thing down. It's a remedio. It's a remedy." Oh, cool. But like literally, we've got like hundreds of these things all over the place, and without fail, every single time, because you're always like, "Oh, what's it do?" Like maybe it'll like cure a headache, or maybe it'll like cure a toothache, or maybe it'll like take your cough away. No, every single one of them is for your stomach. like without fail, every single it's like, oh yeah, you got that one. You put it in your tea. It's like, what's it for? It's for your stomach. It's for your stomago. And like it's almost become a running joke. It's like we'll just like pick up a random piece of grass and be like, yeah, chew on that. It's for your stomach.
I got one more voicemail. Well, I have two more voicemails.
Sure.
I just want to call. I was listening. There's something I really agree with. Ted was talking about how, a greenhouse is, how it's all like hot in Florida. So to solve that, what they need to do is build a greenhouse. He said a giant glass dome. Because we all know, when it's really hot, you walk into one of those nice little glass houses that they call a greenhouse where they got the plants. Because they grow the plants there because it's nice and cool inside of a greenhouse. Especially on a hot and sunny day. Yeah, I'm tab cuffed. That's how I think the world works. Anyway, that's all. Y'all have a nice day, okay? Bye-bye.
I didn't say build a greenhouse. I still said build a dome and pump cooled air into it. There's a big difference.
Didn't he remind you like a little bit of like the pre-Hank Hill voice from like Beavis and Butthead? Like not actually,
Tom Anderson.
Yeah, whatever the neighbor was, like, oh, that boy ain't right.
Well, that boy ain't right. Those kids are whacking off in my tool shed. Yeah, I fucking love Tom Anderson. Yeah, you know what? This is God's country. When he's in Beavis and Butthead Do America, like, here's how much I love Beavis and Butthead Do America. He gets arrested because they find the pants that Beavis is wearing in his trailer, and he gets arrested. And he's like, "I'm an American citizen. I got rights." And when I did the tracks that I recorded for hashtag Dick Lies, I'm getting dragged out of the courtroom, and I said, I shout, "I'm an American citizen. I have rights." I did that because I love that line from Beavis and Butthead Do America so much.
Awesome. See, I was wondering if Beavis and Butthead was like before your
You
time,
get your damn hands off me. I'm an American citizen. I have rights. I said that fucking verbatim as Mad Cooks in hashtag Dick Lies. Listen to it. Lakembra, the goat. Yeah. We have one more from Deadhelm.
Cool.
Hey, this is Uncle Bunny. Deadhelm here.
Oh,
and
you gotta save it. Stop it.
Let me save it. I'll
save it for him. He's next week.
Theoretically.
Sounds good.
Well, that's it. That's it for this week's episode. I've been your slow motion bullshit video host. I fucking couldn't be more irritated.
You've been like dial up internet all night.
And now it's caught up. Fucker.
Hey,
is this fucking Carl? Fuck you, Carl. I will fight you. You piece of shit.
I didn't mean to bury you. I never would listen to the show. That's just me.
Cheers to Mr. Kill Everything. Another one of our goats.
Oh man, greatest of all time.
I will end you, Carl. I will end you. I'll come to Florida or Rochester and end you. So yeah, that's our week's episode. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll catch you guys next week.